You spent the last 30 minutes of a dinner tracking the host's facial expressions instead of looking at your own plate. This isn't just being overly polite. You aren't being attentive. You're bracing for rejection. One heavy sigh ruins your night before it even starts. You'll understand why you carry this exhausting radar and exactly how to turn it off. Why does your body treat a quiet room like a threat? The exhausting radar you run. The plate rarely holds your attention. Last week, you apologized to a chair you bumped into because you worried so much about your friend having a good time. A familiar sense of panic lives in you. A 2-second sigh from a coworker echoes for 3 hours, and you hunt for proof they're mad at you. You already tried telling yourself to relax. It didn't hold. This isn't a character flaw. There's a name for this: interpersonal hypervigilance. In plain words, it's the habit of scanning the room for emotional shifts. This habit drains you. You pay that massive toll for one specific reason. Often, that trigger fires long before anyone speaks a single word. When silence feels like danger. Your partner sits on the couch reading. Within 1 hour, you ask if they're mad at you 3 times. They say no. You assume a quiet face means they're secretly angry. Social anxiety scrambles the signal, making you misinterpret a neutral expression as a threat. You look for danger so hard that you invent it. Think of a fuel gauge. You tap the glass over and over because you refuse to trust the needle. The tank is full. You keep knocking anyway. This constant checking mirrors your habit. You're building a defense for a crime no one has accused you of. The courtroom is completely empty. Anchor your eyes on a neutral object instead of their face. Stare at a stray receipt on the table or the edge of a bookshelf. This tiny physical shift breaks the feedback loop of searching a neutral face for hidden anger. The silence stops feeling like a punishment. The same reflex that ruins a quiet evening at home follows you right into the office. Your professional life carries the exact same burden. Why you predict the storm. Why does it feel impossible to finish one basic task? You're constantly checking the room's energy to predict the next problem before it happens. Watching for future shifts gives you a temporary hit of control, making you feel prepared for a fight. In reality, that radar keeps you completely out of the present moment. You watch the horizon for storm clouds instead of looking at the desk in front of you. The work sits untouched. You spend your entire morning tracking a weather system that might never arrive. This reflex compounds over time. Appeasing a coworker one time becomes the permanent rule of that relationship for the next year. You bend over backward once, then you spend the next year paying a toll you never owed. It drains you. To break this, impose a hard delay. Hold the silence for 5 seconds before you speak. Imposing this weight prevents you from automatically responding to an emotional shift you think you just detected. The urgency to fix the room disappears. Managing everyone's comfort in public is exhausting enough. The cost gets much higher when you run that exact same script inside your own mind. The illusion of staying safe. You already tried convincing yourself that everyone is fine. It didn't hold. You believe that if you watch closely enough, you prevent anyone from being upset. So you track footsteps down the hall, mapping out a housemate's frustration before they even reach the kitchen. The checking becomes a heavy crutch. It hands you a false sense of control over unpredictable people. Picture a heavy front door. You turn the deadbolt, test the handle, and then stare at the wood for an hour to make sure it stays shut. You burn your entire evening watching a boundary that's already secure. The way someone reacts to your boundary tells you nothing about your worth. It tells you everything about what their own discomfort feels like. Label the physical scanning move your body is making. When you name the act, you create space between the urge and the action. You find your shoulders drop. The assumption is that constant checking keeps the peace. Instead, trying to control the space creates the exact fatigue you want to dodge. Next time you catch yourself scanning, speak your exact fear out loud. Hearing your own voice breaks the cycle. The armor you forgot to take off. Imagine wearing a heavy winter coat inside a heated house, zipped all the way to your chin. Yesterday was freezing, so you keep the thick fabric wrapped tight. Taking that layer off feels reckless. You would rather sweat than risk a sudden chill. A glowing email arrives from a client, but you read it 5 times to find a hidden insult. You are still bracing for a disaster that is no longer there. That old tactic drains your energy, and you clench your teeth, inventing a problem just to have something to solve. Constantly monitoring people has become your entire identity. Without a crisis to manage, you have no idea who you are. You don't know how to exist in a space where nobody needs fixing. Years ago, anticipating every shift in tone kept a bad situation from getting worse. It worked back then. Today, it bleeds your energy dry. The emergency passed a long time ago. You still wear the coat. How to finally sit down. Now you know the traps. Ignoring your plate to monitor everyone is a reflex to dodge rejection. You don't need to manage the room to earn your right to be in it. Label the physical scanning move your body is making. Anchor your eyes on a neutral object instead of their face. Hold the silence for 5 seconds before you speak. Sit in it. That wait proves the quiet isn't a threat. That plate is yours. Subscribe before this pattern steals another night. What is the smallest shift in someone's mood you've caught yourself obsessing over?